Welcome back to The Tea with Nicky. Today, I have an incredible guest on the podcast today, the Managing Director from Now Boarding, Leigh Stefanski. Welcome, Leigh.
Hi, Nicky. It's so lovely to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. For those that don't know Leigh, do you want to do a quick introduction about yourself before we get started?
Sure. So I look after a UX and UI design agency called Now Boarding Digital. We specialize in pretty complex designs for industries that need our design skills to reduce complexity and create beautiful, simple apps. So we design applications and web apps in industries like fintech, in medtech, solar, green, insurance.
Quick one. You worked with SnapScan in the beginning, didn't you, when they first started?
Absolutely. It wasn't actually when they first started.
Okay.
So we worked with SnapScan when they had created a fair amount of complexity over time, and they came to us at the point where they needed an end-to-end seamless user experience, and their brief to us was to really make it flow and to reduce the onboarding drop-off that was happening because users were jumping between quite disconnected environments as they were moving through the journey.
Amazing. The reason why I bring that up is because I recently had the head of product on our podcast, Fran Thring.
Oh, amazing.
So it's just nice to have those connections. But you mentioned that you've running Now Boarding, so you've been there for over 11 years now. So which in agency life is practically a lifetime, as many of those from the agency industry know. So what would you say has been the hardest season of building Now Boarding?
Wow. I mean, start a business, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
It's always the famous last words.
Look, I mean, when we talk about leaning into hard, there are always harder phases and seasons that we can reflect back on. Now Boarding as an agency, we've been going for 16 years. And I would say, everybody has their COVID story, right? So it would be amiss of me not to mention the COVID days. I so clearly remember that day where I walked into studio at about 7 a.m. and thought, today's the day I need to send everybody home. And at that time, we didn't know how to operate in a remote first way. We were fully studio bound. We didn't have the processes in place to be able to do it.
That's scary.
It was terrifying. And we literally, our team arrived and we said, guys, pick up we were mostly on desktops still at the time.
Wow.
Pick up your workstations and off you go and we'll figure it out. And at the time, your phone keeps ringing and clients are going, we don't know what's happening. We need to pause. So, there was so much uncertainty in those first couple of weeks and, keeping the team morale up through that phase was incredibly challenging when you as an individual are just feeling so uncertain about everything. But Nicky, the most beautiful thing happened, which was, yes, we had some clients that needed to pause because their business was being affected. But on the other side, digital started to be seen as the answer for everything.
Yeah.
So the number of new clients that came through our doors in that phase was just astronomical. So it ended up being an incredibly good time for us and really forced us into the discomfort of change, which we've never looked back from. Yeah. So we ended up becoming a hybrid team. We're now in office together 1 day a week for the culture and the chaos and the collaboration. And the rest of the week, we are remote. So it ended up being the best thing that could have possibly happened.
They always say growth comes from uncomfortable places.
Absolutely.
So that is clearly a testament to it. And I remember the days when it was, everyone actually just stay at home and work. There was that panic, that full panic for at least a week. And then I think it's the companies that were able to adapt quickly and pivot very quickly as well who ended up succeeding because so many businesses also went under because suddenly they couldn't operate the same anymore. So it's really awesome to hear how you guys could just quickly pivot, but the benefits of being digital.
Absolutely. And there was another season that was particularly challenging, but I also found quite interesting, was a number of years ago, our UX director and one of my partners moved to Switzerland. So he made the both personal and we made the business decision that it would be great to open a European office. Switzerland was a natural choice because he had ties there. And, you know, I think you get to a point in business where you think, you know, let's go and do some international business. And nobody really tells you how unbelievably challenging it is to start in a new offshore destination where you have no network, you have no brand, you have no reputation. And I don't think you're ever fully prepared for the costs associated with carrying that phase. So that was also particularly challenging. The rest of the team, we had to refactor how we operated, how responsibility was shared between the team members, with one of our directors now not on the ground with us anymore. So yeah, it was incredibly challenging, but also incredibly good in the end. It was a year of kind of spinning on gravel a little bit and having to float this big decision that none of us knew if we'd made the right one or the wrong one. That ended up 5 years with him over there, and it being really good. And yeah, Jacques is now back, and now we explore Ireland, which is, you know, so suckers for punishment. We're looking at doing it again. But yeah, I think we'd all like to stay on the ground in South Africa this time. But yeah, always building, right?
No, that's incredible. And so just coming back to what you said earlier when you introduced yourself about helping to ease the complexity within businesses. So I know that your philosophy, as well as like been incorporated into now boarding, is that most digital products don't fail because of the technology, but because of the complexity that's crept in. So where do you see that happen the most, and what does it usually cost the business before someone finally calls you?
Oh, Nicky, we see this day in and day out, but I think the most important thing is to just think about complexity for a second. And what's the big problem with complexity? In my mind, complexity obscures meaning. So when we think about why any of us start a digital product, a digital business in the beginning, it's to solve a problem. We build tech to solve a problem that we believe a certain group of users have. And what happens over time is we add more and more stuff to our products, more and more features, to a point where often we lose our way. So we start to hide the original intention that the problems or that the product set out to solve. So how do we see that kind of manifesting? So we see feature bloat, where you end up with so many features that have kind of been bolted on over time without real strategic thought to the user experience and how it should all be coming together. And what ends up happening there is users can't find their way anymore. So it becomes incredibly confusing. Users get lost. They get frustrated.
I feel that happens a lot with so many of the banking apps, for example. There's just so many complexities and so many different features, and you're kind of you're looking at your homepage and you're thinking, where do I go for this thing again? And where you know, it's just like simple things. And then, but it's just, again, it's because they just keep adding features in.
Absolutely. And the problem is that, you know, if a user is having to think about how to find something, something is wrong with your UX. Doesn't mean the feature doesn't deserve to be there. It just means that the way that everything has come together has now started to hide and obscure the core purpose of what they're trying to achieve. The other thing that we see happening all the time is the complaint that our users only use 10% of our functionality. So now you are spending huge cost and huge resource on building out all of these features that you believe are going to be your moat that nobody uses.
Yeah.
And again, it's often because of the feeling of complexity that you've created that just makes users go, I don't have time to figure this out. We also see with complexity comes huge support burden, huge help center costs that are coming in. And really, if you could make your experience a lot simpler and more intuitive, you see a lot of those things start to reduce and or go away because you've just made it a far simpler experience for the user.
Okay. And before I get into this next one, because this one I've been super curious about, I'm sure everyone, you've all heard about it and you've addressed it within the boardrooms about AI. But before we get into the full deep dive into it, I have a feeling that a lot of people still get very confused with what UX and UI is. So just in quick, like 2 lines, layman terms, what is UX and what does that entail and what is UI?
Okay, super. So we like to think of UX as what the user needs to do when they are inside your product or your application. So UX stands for user experience. UI is how does your product make a user feel? So UI is really the design layer that becomes part of the user experience. So, you may initially think that it's about color, it's about font, it's about...
Which kind of still is.
It absolutely is. Those are all key critical decisions that make your product tie in with your brand.
Yeah.
But there are also things like micro animations that give your product a feeling, that create those moments of delight, that make your product experience memorable and something that people want to come back to using because it created a great feeling for them. But for us, UX and UI work so hand in hand. What you need to do affects how you feel, and how you feel affects what you do. So, the two live absolutely harmoniously together.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
10 points for Gryffindor. So I wanted to use that as a segue into talking about AI because a lot of people are obviously very concerned with job security being one thing, but you see, I haven't seen it as much in South Africa, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen it more kind of internationally with, Meta, Salesforce, some other big conglomerates where they're laying off a lot of people and because they're automating a lot of the things. So and because, with ChatGPT, Gemini, them being able to create these designs and pictures and artwork and whatever, it feels like AI was definitely reshaping how UX and UI is being consumed or how it's being dealt with or designed, etc. So some designers are quite excited, I assume, because it can help a lot of their processes, streamline it quite a bit. One of my dear friends, she's opened up her own agency and she said the stuff that used to take her a week to do, she can now do within a day, which streamlines her processes a lot. But she says on the client side, it becomes more challenging because then the expectation is faster as well. So that makes a lot of other people quite terrified. So in your honest opinion, what has changed about how you work now at Now Boarding? And is there anything about the craft that you're quite protective of in the business as well?
Absolutely. Nicky, I feel like I have this conversation with just about everybody that I speak to these days. It's so topical and there's no right or wrong answer. There's no crystal ball that's going to tell us where it's definitively going. I think one of the big talking points at the moment is AI perception versus AI reality. And I think we often get caught in the hype that we read on LinkedIn and people publishing these groundbreaking workflows that they've now come across, because it is about creating this thought leadership content and wanting to be seen at the forefront of innovation. So what we are finding in studio at the moment is that the reality is AI is helping us very, very tactically. So the example that you were giving of your friend, you can get a lot of groundwork done a fair amount faster by using AI. It's a fantastic thinking partner. It's great for ideation. It's great for very early stage MVP that startups should be creating to take into market for validation. So I think that in the more early stage startup space, AI is the most phenomenal gift. We should be using it. We should absolutely be keeping our costs down, using AI to create prototypes that we can take out into market and test our assumptions and get validation in market. When it comes to actually getting to a point of production ready and go-to-market ready products, that's where AI starts to fall very short. So it is not able to create the level of polish that our studio stands for. So it's still quite frustrating in that space because our expectations are here. And the more
everyone's expectation nowadays of AI is that it can run my life.
I know.
Everything.
And we can't push it into that polish space. So I think that it's very good in those early stages. It falls short in the later stages. But what AI cannot do is the piece around applying a layer of human judgment and human empathy and understanding full big picture context. And if we think about what our life at Now Boarding entails, so much of it is sitting on calls or in boardrooms with our clients, really thrashing out challenges together. So our clients often struggle to articulate the challenge that they're experiencing, let alone what the solution needs to be. So I think that AI in the hands of the right human thinking partner can be very powerful, but that human layer of design thinking is still absolutely critical in being able to produce a market-leading first-class product.
I love that you brought up about AI hype versus AI reality, because I had Kerry Clark on recently as well, and she says, AI is like her co-founder. She uses it to help with a lot of menial things that take up a lot of time and energy, but she could use that energy elsewhere for something more productive. And she also just mentioned what you said, that AI can't read the room. It can't tell emotions. It can't do the empathy.
Totally.
And that is where human intervention is still needed. And that's what I think a lot of policies that are coming through globally, you're seeing is that it's not to replace, it's to, enhance workspaces. And I think that's where a lot of people get it convoluted and confused as well, where it's, yes, AI has a lot of capabilities, but it's not going to replace.
Absolutely. And it's about, it's about giving us more time.
Yeah.
So rather than thinking about, use AI to retrench half your workforce, it's actually about going, how can I get the maximum human value and human potential out of my workforce? And, in our world, we think about it as, how can we let people focus all of that energy and attention on customer experience rather than so much on kind of back office administrative type tasking. So, I think it's an incredible opportunity for us to really, really focus our time and our energy on the things that make us uniquely human.
I love that, because you also hear a lot of nihilism come out nowadays. But recently, you also partnered up with Heavy Chef to run a 2-day UX UI hackathon for the top 5 most exciting startups. So working through the challenges ranging from complex data management to advanced search, dashboarding, conversion optimization, and navigation. One founder said that he had been trying to solve a problem for about 18 months and was just blown away by what the team cracked in 2 days. Was that AI as well? So what does it take to get to the root of the problem that fast? And why do you think so many product teams struggle to see it themselves?
Nicky, it's incredibly hard to read the label from inside the bottle. And I think...
Truer words have not been said.
And I think that, so many product teams, they live their products day in and day out, and they have become quite conditioned to certain ways of thinking. So sometimes just having an external party that is hearing the problem for the first time and looking at something from a different perspective makes all the difference in the world. But I think the other thing that we obviously have is 16 years of experience designing products across so many different industry verticals. And when you have that amount of history and experience and cross-industry IP, you can see patterns emerge and familiarity in terms of things that you have solved before. So it's seldom that we see something that we go, yeah, we've never done anything like this before. It's normally a case of there's a trigger around, it was a completely different industry, but we've seen this story before. So I think that, that's what having a team like ours on a problem brings to the party that product teams might not necessarily be able to solve themselves, particularly if they don't have a user experience specialist on their team. So often product managers are trying to crack these problems on their own, but they're looking at it from their perspective. We are hyper-trained to look at things from a user's perspective, and we often say that we are the people in the room that represent the user. That's what we're there for, is to really stand in their shoes and to be that voice that often isn't prioritized when you're sitting at a product decision-making table.
100%. And I think a lot of people also underestimate how much research goes into designs for UX before it's actually executed. It's not just thinking, oh, this is how I would like it, or this looks pretty, but there's a lot of deep research that goes into that and into the consumer base as well, rather than just, oh, this is pretty.
And you just said the magic word, Nicky. You said, this is what I think, and this is what I would like. Because you're then in this very, very dangerous territory of seeing things as a sample of one, and you're looking at it through a lens of someone who might not actually be your target market. So we are always about trying to remove ourselves from our own viewpoints and really get to know who that target market and who that user is on a deep level, what their needs are, what their pains are, what the context is in which they might be using a product, put ourselves in their shoes and be able to see the problem from their perspective.
That's incredible. But that is so needed, as I mentioned. There's some apps that we use. I think even some of, because I have smart TVs now are also the only thing that I really know, because I have a smart TV. Even some of those apps, I think, oh, the user experience on this was just, no one thought about this.
Oh, those are some of the worst.
They are so bad. And shame, Showmax has now been closed, unfortunately, but they had one of the worst.
Yeah. It was
and it was very special. I was thinking, oh my gosh, you did not have a UX specialist on this, clearly. But anyway, we digress. So, woman of many talents, not only are you the managing director, but you're also one of the founding members of the Lekker Network. And you mentioned earlier you were recently in Ireland as well, and that's also where the Lekker Network had a meetup. I think you just launched the chapter there. So can you tell us a little bit more about what is the Lekker Network and why is it so important to you?
Sure. So the Lekker Network, yes, I am a founding member. Please not to be confused with one of the founders of the Lekker Network. These are very different. However, I watched the journey unfold because I knew two of the actual Lekker Network founders quite well. And when I saw what they were creating, so the Lekker Network is really about connecting South Africans globally, because together we can open so many doors for each other around the world. And when I saw this vision coming to life, obviously I thought about it with a business lens first, because it was brand new. And I had to go to my two business partners, Jacques and Michelle, and tell them that I wanted us to join a network that didn't exist yet. And they were like, what? So that was a fun conversation. However, it completely aligned with our business view of wanting to create more of a global client base for now boarding. So it made a lot of sense for us. It was an easy decision. I think what I never expected is the level of absolute South African camaraderie and intentionality that is part of this network. People show up living the Lekker Network ethos, which is, how can I help you? Not what can I get? Not I'm here to do business and to schmooze. We really show up with this view of curiosity and intentionality around how can I help you to make connections, to build your business, to connect with other South Africans globally. And when we all bring that energy together, it's been unbelievable to see the momentum that is starting to take hold around South Africans doing business around the world. So, I've just obviously renewed my membership without batting an eyelid. And it's been such a phenomenal journey of camaraderie, of support, of really standing behind South Africans, of learning. The amount that we learn from each other is just remarkable. And, if you need something, you just ask, and somebody is going to put up a hand to either connect you or to share their insights and their experience on something that you might be stuck on. One great example is there are now enough members that are in the agency space that we have an agency pod and group where we're all getting together to talk about the pain and the challenges and the experiences of agency life, because what we experience on a day-to-day level is similar and familiar. And who better to help you solve some of your business challenges than someone that is living it right beside you. The value is so much greater than what I ever kind of set out to achieve.
I love that. South African gees and that,
so much.
Embracing that Ubuntu-ness of it all, where we are all one and we'll work together and, help pull each other up.
Exactly.
And give that pedestal to kind of step on.
Totally.
That's awesome. So now we'll move into one of my favorite segments, which is called the ABCs of your career. And just like you said, the first one is What was your moment to step into the design and agency life?
Well, I come from more of a corporate tech background. So I was very much on the client side initially. And my aha moment had nothing to do with running away from anything. I started working with Now Boarding from pretty much day one in my digital marketing tech career. And within the first year of working together and working specifically with Jacques and Michelle, I knew that they were just the best thing about what I did. And at the end of our first year working together, they gave me a year-end gift, which had my name in Now Boarding's branding. And I peeled off that label and I stuck it on the inside of my wardrobe. And I said to myself, I don't know when and I don't know how, but that's where I'm going next. And that was at the end of year one working together. We worked together in a client agency role for another 4 years or so. And then the timing was right. And I basically knocked on the door and said, can I come over? And they said, well, we don't know what we would do with you. And I said, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Yeah. And that was 11 years ago. And
wow.
It's been a phenomenal story. So I've absolutely found my right place.
Is it still in your cupboard?
It's sadly not. I've moved house a good few times since then. But now I have all of the CI that I really could make my own.
It's almost like a vision board moment, having it in your cupboard saying, I will be there.
It was. I never thought that hard about it. It was just obvious somehow. It was more a case of this is going to happen.
It's just a matter of when.
It's just a matter of when. And shame, Jacques and Michelle had no idea that I had this intention.
But you knew.
But I knew a lot sooner than they did.
And B, what is the biggest UX mistakes that founders make time and time again?
Sure. I think a huge mistake, particularly in the early days, is hiring what you can afford. So when you are trying to lay a strategic foundation for your user experience, you don't want somebody junior to mid-level being the people defining that. What ends up happening is you put a huge amount of onus on roles like product management, on development, on CTO, on business to dictate user experience decisions, which is not where it should be coming from. And your junior to mid-level, because that's what you can afford, are trying to push things in the wrong direction, or they're just being pushed around by the devs. So I think that that's a big mistake that often gets made in our industry. I think other mistakes that happen are, around the in-house and outsourcing conversation. So often it makes a lot of sense to outsource your strategic UX decision-making upfront, and then perhaps internalize that service when you're further down the line and going into more of a maintenance phase. You really want the best thinking done upfront rather than the other way around.
For the best success, obviously.
Absolutely.
So that it's not you go to market and you have a great product, but no one loves to be on it or use it because the UX is so bad.
Absolutely. Another big mistake that people make is not having a solid design system foundation. So if you, again, are working with somebody less experienced, they perhaps don't know and understand the benefit of having a solid design system, which is really about a design system is your governance rulebook that holds your design together as your design scales. So you can imagine as more and more features and flows get added, if you don't have that overarching guideline holding everything together, things can easily become a hot mess over time. There's also continuity. So what happens when one designer steps off the project and another one steps on? They're going to bring their own flavor, because that's what designers like to do, unless you have got that solid system holding everything together. So making 100%. Sure that's in place is really important.
Yeah, 100%. And C, this is a comical one. So what was a comical moment in your career that was embarrassing at the time when it happened, but you laugh about it now?
Oh, Nicky, do I have to?
Yes, it's all about, embracing the failures and the mistakes, because then we can learn and grow from it.
So I wouldn't say this was a learning or a mistake on any level, but it's kind of a fun story to think back on. But it's my most cringeworthy moment in our now boarding life. So we love dogs. My goodness, we are absolutely animal obsessed in our team. And
I think many are, because anytime I see any dogs, most of my Instagram nowadays, at least half of the content is literally just like puppies and kittens and cows. And I'm just like, oh, hee.
Yep, no, totally. So when we were all still working in studio together, when we were in office full time, we used to have a pack of dogs that was regularly visiting and hanging out with us, etc. So one early morning, I had a project manager interview, and very, very serious woman. She was German. We did go on to hire her, and she was absolutely phenomenal. But we sat down in the boardroom, and we had a fantastic interview. And, it was our final stage. So this was very serious. And she got up, and she shook my hand, and she said, "Thank you so much for a great conversation. Just so that you're aware, there is a dog poo on the floor behind me." And she sat the whole way through this interview without flinching. And I was like, I really want this woman. I really, really, really need to have this project manager. And let me tell you how many times that story has been told over many a tequila fine. But
that is hilarious. How did you not get the smell?
I think it happened the day before, so it had maybe just worn off.
Dried a bit.
But I was sitting on the opposite side of the table as well, so she may well have been living with the smell the whole way through the interview. But she was kind enough to say nothing and to still accept the job.
Oh my word, that is one of the best stories I've heard.
Great.
Just FYI, saw something in the corner.
Yeah. Here to entertain, Nicky.
And now we'll move quickly to the quick-fire questions. So first word or sentence that comes to the mind.
Okay.
Just blurt it out. And then at the end, there's a surprise question from a previous guest.
Ooh, okay.
So the first one is, if there's one thing that you could change people's perception on about UX and UI and design, what would it be?
That it's not just about button colors.
Very good. And if you could have one superpower in the world, what would it be and why?
I would love to fly. I know that's not noble on any level, but I've always just loved an aerial perspective. I'm drawn to aerial photography. I absolutely love to climb things, as strange as that sounds, even in
So
my
you're a bit of a
40s.
rock climber.
I was a rock climber. I used to do pole fitness as well.
Oh,
so,
pole fitness is good.
like to be upside down for some strange reason. I know. But yes, if I could have a superpower, I would choose flight.
Okay, that's a good one. It's always nice because then you can also fly to Ireland quickly.
That would be great.
And if you read fiction, if you could live in a book, which one would it be and why?
Ooh.
If you don't read fiction, what is a book or podcast that you would highly recommend for someone to listen to?
Okay.
You can answer either or both.
Okay. So I am going to answer the second part of the question, probably. So I would say that Brené Brown has had quite an influence on my life.
Me
I would
too.
say, okay, well, then when you know, you know. For any woman who is in leadership on any level, I'd say get in there.
Yeah.
And, she is known for vulnerability, but I take it a little further than that, which is around leaning into your authenticity of who you are in leadership. And I think that she really gives you permission to do that.
Yes, definitely. Dare to Lead was one of my favorites.
Always on my
I
desk.
like how highlighted things. And when she said about, pick two values that really align with you, and every decision you come across, you have to apply to those two values. It's been a game changer.
Totally.
Oh, no, she's brilliant. Good recommendation.
It was actually one of my crew members who pulled my name for Secret Santa that bought me that book.
Oh,
yeah,
what
a
a
number of
great
years
gift.
ago. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with getting someone a book for a present.
Secret Santa winner.
Such a win. And she's also started a podcast now with
Absolutely.
Adam Grant. I don't know if you saw. I'm also a big fan of Adam Grant.
Awesome.
I've read two of his books as well. And I know he's got Hidden Potential out, which I'm still going to get to. But
Brilliant.
I love them two together as well. They've got great chemistry.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. I will definitely. That's my weekend viewing now.
Definitely. And if you could have three people over for dinner, dead or alive, who would it be?
Wow. Okay, so Daniel Priestley.
I'm not familiar.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so get familiar.
Okay.
His lessons on becoming a person or a business of demand
Okay.
are irreplaceable. So it's just a completely different way of thinking about sales, I suppose. But really, really interesting. And I did get to go and see him speak about
cool.
6-8 months ago or so. And what a human being, and so charismatic. So yeah, dinner would be great. Love to have him over. Seth Godin.
Okay, yes,
So-
I do know of Seth
Yeah,
Godin.
he was a very, very early influence in my career, actually.
Well, from marketing, definitely, I can imagine.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I love his work. I love the way that he thinks, and what a fascinating human being to have over for dinner. And my third would actually be my partner's late mum.
Sweet.
So I never had the opportunity to meet her. And I would have her around to help me host the dinner because I believe she could throw one heck of a party, put together a heck of a spread, and was a phenomenal woman. So I would have loved the opportunity.
Yeah, that would have been beautiful. What an interesting dinner.
Yeah, that would be
Hopefully
interesting.
I get the invite when that happens. And then the surprise question, this is, as I mentioned earlier, Fran Thring. So like I'm stealing a little bit from the Diary of a CEO, but leaving a question for the next guest to come on. So Fran Thring left this one. And her question is, what belief have you changed your mind about in the last few years?
I have changed my belief, and I'm going to say this in more of a personal capacity than a business one, because I think the context is important. But I have started to really believe in the beauty of not over-planning everything. So I have always been very disciplined and very A-type and very efficient. And, my social calendar was planned weeks in advance. And I give absolute full credit to my partner. He just got me to let go and to be able to roll with things a little bit more rather than having to make sure that I am everywhere that I said I would be when I said I would be there.
Yeah.
And what it's done is just give me so much more of the joy of living in the moment. And, maybe that sounds a bit Cape Townian for an extrovert girl, but
Finally, you're assimilating.
Finally, I get it. Finally, I can say I feel like going to walk the dogs on the beach now because, my life is not wall-to-wall planned. So I would say that is a belief on a personal level that has changed quite fundamentally.
But it's so important because that also, we've been sold this lie of every moment has to be productive. And I don't know if it's because of COVID or if it was before that, but that's when I really felt it is that, everything needs to be productive. You need to optimize your time with everything that you do and da-da-da-da-da-da. And AI doesn't help that either. And I'm also a girly who plans weeks in advance because I'm like, if I don't make this plan, I'm not going to see anyone.
Totally.
And it puts a lot of stress on you. And then, like you said as well, it takes away from the moment of organic planning because sometimes there's the beauty and the spontaneity as well of things.
Absolutely.
So I hear you so much. I've also feel like maybe that's also, I'm going to apply that to myself, even though I didn't get the question. Yeah. But I just feel that's something I've been adopting a little bit more in my life. But I think it was, my partner is very much, I don't know how to make a plan. Mm-hmm. He's very go with the flow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, we are planning to do this, so we need to know this 6 months in advance. Especially when you're buying tickets, though, like airline.
Oh, true. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. And planning accommodation and weekends away, something to look forward to.
There needs to be some planning.
Absolutely. No,
but I've been a lot better, and I feel he's also helped me let go a little bit of that. Which
amazing how they do that, right?
It is good. Balance. But thank you so much, Leigh, for joining us today and for the insightful conversation. And I'm sure everyone is going to really enjoy this one.
Absolute pleasure, Nicky. Thank you for the invite. It was divine having a chat with you.